Have you lost respect for your wife or for your husband, or have you completely lost their respect and trying to figure out how to love and how to move forward from here? Well, in this session, we're going to talk about the law of honor as the key to love for the future connection and harmony of your marriage. Are you ready to stop fighting and start loving again? What if I told you that the key to healing your broken relationship can be found at the intersection of law and love? I'm Judge Shar, founder of Law for Love, and I restore justice to broken relationships through contract building, restructuring, and legal consulting that helps you convert conflict into connection that transforms your family, your community, and the world. All right. We're hopping into law school tonight. Hope you are ready to take some notes, ready to apply yourself, because we're going to be doing a legal analysis tonight to talk about how to love after respect is gone. So whether it's you not being respected, whether it's you having a hard time respecting based on things that have happened, we're going to teach you a principle that is guaranteed to produce fruit in a relationship that seems like all hope is lost. So we're going to dive right into this training. Again, we're doing FIRAC. So for those of you who are new to the way that I teach, I share the law school approach to all problem solving. This is what every single lawyer is taught in American law schools, how to approach the world's biggest problems. And it is a problem solving framework that stands for facts, issue, rule, analysis, and conclusion. And so we're going to walk through this together concerning how to keep loving after respect is lost. Let's start with the facts. Today's case analysis is Queen Michal versus King David. And this case number is 2 Samuel 6, 20 through 23. So David, after a very, very long journey, getting the Ark of the Covenant back into the capital city of the nation of Israel, a very long and painful and stressful journey, he's dancing in the streets of downtown Jerusalem to the point where he doesn't even realize he's danced out of his clothes. And so his queen is watching him make a spectacle of himself, and she completely loses respect for the king in that moment. The issue: I have lost respect for my wife or for my husband. How do I love them when I don't respect them? This is the issue Queen Michal was faced with in this particular case. In her argument, she said to him, she's like, you look like the shameless fools who walk around without clothes. Like, she's pissed. Everybody's seeing her man stuff in the streets, right? And David was a warrior, so we could probably imagine, he was probably like buff. And Michal is so upset. And all she could think of is all these other females looking at my man body. And she came for David. And not only did she come for David, but I'm going to show you in a little while why we can imply that she was actually embarrassed by him based on the fact that she is the daughter of the former king, Saul. So it's almost like, dang, like, you married up to be with me and now you're embarrassing me. And I'm going to show you why I'm presuming that in this particular attitude that she came at her husband with. And so David was like, hold up, wait a minute, honey. Before I married you, before your daddy brought me into the family, I was chosen by the Most High to be king. So don't get it twisted, because I will act a whole fool when it comes to my king, who is the Most High. And you just going to have to be all right with however I decide I'm going to show out when it comes to him. So this is the argument between the queen and the king. And as the king, he is the judge of his wife. And we see that the last you hear of her is that she never had children. It doesn't say that she was barren. So reason will stand that David refused to sleep with his wife anymore after that moment in time, after this moment of her loss of respect for him, and after she went in on him. Now let's talk about the rule. This is the R in Firek. The law of honor is what we're here to learn about, to deal with those moments in our relationship where there's a respect issue. I lost your respect. You lost my respect. How do we move forward from here? Well, the law of honor is this. Honor is a seed of respect that is not dependent on the past. Rather, it is sown in the present, in this moment in time, because it is a harvest of an abundance that is multiplied to you in due season, sometime in the future. So the law of honor looks at your past, your present, and your future. And this is what we're here to teach through the case of Queen Michal versus King David. Analysis. Now, Queen Michal, she did not apply the law of honor in this situation. She lost it in the heat of the moment. She rewarded good with evil, and she lost sight of her future. Let's dive in and talk about this. So she lost it in the heat of the moment. There was a proverb 29:11, that says that a fool utters all of his mind, but a wise man keeps it in until afterward. Any of you who have been to any kind of relationship coaching, couples counseling, one of the number one toolkits is time out. Take a time out. No one is winning. The relationship is not winning in the heat of the moment. And see, where Queen Michal messed up is she was hot. She was, all she was seeing was these other women looking at her man, and all she was feeling was embarrassment. And she wanted to check her husband in the heat of the moment, and she just vomited all over him as soon as he got home. And she violated this particular proverb, which was how she also violated the law of honor. The law of honor includes the type of humility or self-discipline of spirit, not to pop off in the heat of the moment, which is exactly what she did. And the account in the record actually says that after David was dancing and praising the Most High, dancing out of his clothes, that he returned to the house for the purpose of blessing his house. And this is why in this analysis, we can conclude that Michal returned, she rewarded his good with evil. And this is the law of meekness. The law of meekness is not always taught the right way. And in order to operate in the law of honor, you also have to develop the character or the practice of meekness. And the best way that I can describe meekness is returning or rewarding good for evil. So in this case, even if David was being ratchet, even if David was trying to be what they call a Chippendale, he out there in the streets of Jerusalem trying to be a Chippendale. He wanted everybody to see his stuff, even if that was his intention. And we know it wasn't, but even for the sake of argument, even if David had bad intentions, to operate in meekness, Michal should have rewarded his evil with good. The best example in the scriptures of how meekness works is the Messiah himself. Now, he's sitting up here and he knows that Judas has already sold him out. Judas has already made a deal. Judas has already gotten paid to betray him. And they're sitting at the Passover meal, and this dude is, he's the duchy on the left-hand side person, like at the dinner table. He's sitting at the left side of Yahusha. And in his knowing that Judas meant evil toward him, in his knowing that Judas had already done him wrong, in his awareness that he had already been betrayed, Hamashiach passes the bowl or the dish to Judas to his left side for Judas to go ahead and dip his bread or his sop, what the scripture calls his sop, into it. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to demonstrate the opposite of meekness. And I remember when I learned this lesson, I was laughing. I was like, Father, you're so good to teach me this, because there is a huge benefit. There's a huge blessing that you find actually in Matthew chapter 5, verse 5. It says that the meek shall inherit the earth. Here is why. Here is why the reward for meekness is so high. Because it is against your nature that when somebody did you wrong, that you actually do them good. So when I picture myself, like if I was in the seat of Yahusha, like I know you already sold me out. Like I know you already, like you actually sit in my face, like you didn't do what I know you did. I wouldn't just pass the side over. I would have thrown it in his face. I would have, right? Like our nature wants to defend ourselves. Our nature wants to make things right in the moment. You did me wrong. You hit me. I'm gonna hit you back. That is our nature. That is who we are. So when we operate in meekness, even when you do evil towards me, I do not repay you with evil. Rather, I repay you with good. And the good for us as human beings in our relationships, whether it's a marriage relationship or parent-child relationship or a friendship, when you do evil, the good that I repay you is the mercy. See, we want to repay wrath when you do us wrong. Oh, you want to do me like that? Okay, I'm going to do you one better. Like we actually up the ante and we come for you harder than you come for us. That is our flesh. That is our human nature. That is our taking justice into our own hands. And so meekness extends mercy. So had this gone the other way, had Michal been practicing meekness, if David was dead wrong, if David was out there in the streets trying to get looks, she would have quietly forgiven him and extended him mercy in that moment, rather than meeting him at the door with her face frowned all the way up, and she was straight rolling neck, and she let him have the business. So she rewarded evil. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. She rewarded his good intention. Remember, verse 20 actually says that he was coming home to bless his house. He coming home feeling good. He coming home happy. He coming home getting ready to grab her by the waist, throw her up in the air and kiss and love on her. And she meets him at the door with wrath. That was evil because his intention was pure when he came home. Does that make sense? Are y'all seeing it? You see the meekness principle? And then thirdly, she lost sight of her future. And this principle comes out of 1 Samuel verse 2:30, the last half of the scripture. And the Most High is saying that I will honor them that honor me, but those who despise me, I will lightly esteem. Like literally, you hate me, I demote you. This is actually a legal principle of the king Yahuwah himself, and it is encoded in First Samuel verses 2 and 30 concerning the law of honor. Honor is received after honor is given. Honor is sold and then it is given back. It is multiplied back to you. And what we see happen in this account with David and his bride, he dishonored her, he demoted her, he refused to be king to her, and she died without children. Y'all seeing the connection? So the conclusion, right, doing the FIRAC analysis, the law school problem solving approach, Queen Michal was dishonored by her king because she violated the law of honor in a moment of pride, emotional reactivity, and short-sightedness. She wasn't looking at her future. So let's take a closer look at the law itself for a deeper understanding. Because what I want to encourage you to do, and this message is not only intended for women. In this particular case, we're using Michal as the example of honor lost because of honor not given. But this law applies to men and it applies to women. In fact, when I was talking to my husband about this particular case, he said, well, David was wrong too. Right? David got beside himself as well. David operated out of an indignation, like, hold up now. He could have extended mercy to her when she came at him with wrong. He could have also returned honor and respect to her with mercy instead of just shutting down on her. So this was a conversation my husband and I had last night about it. And I'm saying that here that this case is not just about women how to honor our husbands. It's about all of us how to honor one another, including husbands to wives, because we all behave in ways and we all show up in ways that lose respect, or we witness things that cause us to lose respect. And understanding this law and remembering how Michal took her L is how we can remain motivated and encouraged to operate in honor, because it's not always easy. In fact, it typically goes against your nature. And here are some definitions of honor and some synonyms of honor. So you have honor, you have esteem, and you have respect. And these are respect is one that's used a lot in families and in marriages where everyone wants to feel respect. And respect is like this act or the way you show up, but it doesn't always translate into the way that you're feeling. You may not feel like being respectful towards this person because this person did something that was disrespectful or that does not that has not earned your respect. But honor and respect and esteem have very little to do with your feelings. It's more about understanding the legal principle or the legal operation that takes place when we show up in honor. In fact, the first time we see honor in the scriptures, it's telling children to no, it's not the first time you see it in the scriptures, but when you see it in a relationship law, you're seeing children being told to respect their parents, because that respect or that honor for the parents will be reaped, or there will be a reward of long life in response or as a reward or a benefit of honor. So that is a legal operation. I just wanted to help you see legal operations here when we talk about this, because in our relationships we have strong feelings, and none of this stuff has anything to do with our feelings. So understanding the principle is how we keep our feelings in check, so we don't take the same L that Michal took. And the Hebrew word for honor, as it's used here, is H3513, which is pronounced kabad, and its meaning is weighty, heavy, and I'm putting this picture of this bell pepper plant here, y'all. Look at how heavy, like this, like the picture of honor is that as a reward for giving respect, you will have a heavy bounty of fruitfulness in your life, an abundance of fruitfulness in your life. And so when we look at Michal's lack of honor for her husband, when we look at how she disrespected him in that moment, what's the last thing we learned about her? She did not multiply. She did not have the weightiness, the heaviness of fruit from her womb, from her king. Are you seeing this? This is what honor is. Honor is what comes back to you. It is not only the thing that you give, it is the thing that is multiplied back to you. Honor is multiplied back to you. When you give it, And what do we know about each one of these bell peppers? Is there how many seeds are in each one of those bell peppers? Is it just one seed, like the one seed of respect that you sowed? No. Each of those bell pepper has dozens, if not hundreds of seeds. So the reason why honor represents weightiness or heaviness is because you're actually getting multiplied back to you what you gave. Does that make sense? You seeing it? So let's talk about the honor recipe. What are the items that go into the recipe for the harvest or the abundance or the heaviness or the weightiness of honor operating in your life as that thing that you receive back that you are sowing into your situation? Keeping in mind now, this is your husband or your wife that has lost their respect, or this is your husband or your wife that's not behaving respectful towards you. But how do you set up your tree to be heavy with fruit or to reap an abundance or weightiness like we see in this picture? Number one is self-control. Again, Michal was in her feelings. She was in the heat of the moment. This is what we do. We get upset with our husband, we get upset with our wives, and then we say things out of the heat of the moment that are disrespectful. And in order for me to plant the honor tree, in order for me to expect an abundance of honor, I have to sow self control. I have to speak to my emotions and tell them to be silent. I have to reason over the fact that I feel like cussing you out. I feel like calling you out your name. I feel like threatening you with something that's going to hurt your feelings. But rather than doing that, I'm going to exercise self-control. So that's the very first recipe that we see in the case of Michal versus David. Michal had no self-control. That man came home and she let him have it. she let him have it. The second ingredient for honor is meekness. Again, I'm going to repay you good, even if you were wrong and meant me harm. Even when you meant evil, I will repay you good. Again, when you operate in meekness, you are operating against your need to be the executioner, the police officer. Like you not only want to like lock the other person up and handcuff them behind their back, but you want to kick the mess out of them while they're still on the ground. Like fighting against that urge when you have been disrespected, fighting against that urge when someone has lost your respect is the second ingredient for honor. And the third ingredient for honor is understanding that honor is a seed that produces fruit. And we understand this from Proverbs 27:18. It says that whoever keeps the fig tree will eat the fruit of it. So if you're growing any kind of tree, any kind of fruit tree, I don't care if it's a fig, y'all know my favorite is mango, lemon tree, lime tree, apple tree, orange tree, whatever kind of tree you are actually growing, you're making sure you're pulling the weeds out the ground. You're making sure that tree is getting water or whatever other nutrients it needs in the soil. You're keeping pests away from the fruit of that tree. You will eat that fruit. The day will come that you get to enjoy that fruit. The proverb goes on to say that he who waits on his master shall be honored. And so when you think about honor, think about who your master is. Think about who the king of your life is, who is the most high, who is honored by your restraint, who is honored by you giving meekness in the situation, who is honored by you not giving somebody a piece of your mind because they disrespected you or they behaved in a way that lost your respect. But knowing that waiting on the most high will return that big heavy. I just want y'all to see that bell pepper heaviness, that this is your future abundance. Michal lost sight of the future. She lost sight of the fact that she didn't have children yet. She lost sight of the fact that only her king could give her seed to have children. And because she lost sight of her future abundance, she lost sight of the future harvest that every woman desired, especially in this time of history. She ended up forfeiting her future harvest of children because she lost sight of it, not understanding that to have honored her king in the moment would have preserved her right to be a mother one day in the future. Because the scripture doesn't say she was barren, y'all. She was just left asleep by herself, is what I'm speculating by the way that the scripture is written and by the way that little fight went down. So let's be honest, right? Whenever there's disrespect present, whether it's actual disrespect, because a lot of times we interpret things as disrespect, that's not disrespect. Sometimes it is disrespect, but sometimes it's not. But whether or not it's real or perceived disrespect, it is exhausting. And this is the work of marriage. We can't do crock pot in marriage, right? We can't just set marriage and forget it. We just can't set our relationships and not do any work or put forth any effort. And yes, when someone is showing up in your relationship with disrespect, or someone is showing up in your relationship having lost your respect, then it can definitely weigh on you. And this is why, especially since we know that the heart of the Father is that picture of that pepper tree, the green pepper, that picture of heaviness, that he wants us to give respect. He wants us to give honor because he intends to release an abundance back to us. This is why the scripture is telling us, don't get weary in doing well. You don't have to repay disrespect with disrespect, because you will reap the respect that you pay back even when they didn't deserve it. You will reap the honor that you gave even though they're not being honorable. You will reap your harvest even though they don't even appreciate the respect or the honor you're giving in the present time, because you're looking at the future that you are investing into. Don't get weary. Don't get weary, because disrespect will the goal of the enemy, right? Is to trip us up before we can get to our harvest. It's to trip us up before our mangoes looking like, y'all know I had to put a mango up in here. To trip us up before our mangoes are nice and golden and ready. He wants us to mess up while they just little hard green knots that could barely be turned even into a mango salad. He does not want to see us get to the place of reward here. And so we are reminded and we are encouraged here in Galatians 6:9 not to stop doing the right thing. This is how you love after you lost respect for your husband. This is how you love after you've lost respect for your wife. Know that you are doing well and you are sowing a seed of respect. You are sowing a seed for honor. If you're not honoring anything else but your marriage vows, just the fact that you made a promise, honor your promise. And know that the law dictates that you will reap not just a little bit, but a heavy weight of a multiplied honor will be your portion. Don't be weary, and you will have your strength. Your strength will be renewed. You will mount up on eagle's wings. You will run and not be weary. You will walk and not faint. This is the law of, why is it not showing the actual scripture? This is Isaiah. What is it, y'all? Isaiah 30. The scriptural reference. I'll put it in the comments. But this is a promise. In our relationships, we're going to get tested with disrespectful situations. We're going to be tested for how we show up after we've lost respect. And our assignment, our mission is to not faint. Do not give up. Love always prevails. And honor and unlocking and putting this law of honor into operation will pay you back an abundance of dividends if you do not quit, if you do not faint. And that is my encouragement for you tonight. So, y'all know who we are here at the Law for Love. Here's our website, our phone number, and our email address for anyone who wants to get in touch and talk about those more sensitive things. And I'm even have a link in the description box. There's a quiz you can take that we're offering to give you some practical insights. Look, if your relationship is struggling, if you're trying to find some ways to like really tap into and start practicing laws like the law of honor, I have that link in the description box for you to take these laws and begin to practice them, put them into motion, and trust the process. Like when we talk about trusting the process, it's like you're actually working a law and you're trusting that law to do what that law will do. Just like the law of gravity is going to make whatever you throw up going to hit the ground, it's going to come back down. That's the same thing with honor. You will reap an abundance of honor. You will reap more than what you gave. And that's why it's so hard, because the thing that was difficult for you to do in the moment, in the present time when you lost respect for your husband, in the present time when you lost respect for your wife, in the present time when you don't feel like your husband is respecting you, or in the present time when you feel like your wife is not respecting you, doing the hard thing is going to be rewarded back to you more than you could ever even think or imagine. It's going to be exceeding and abundant. This is the law. Like this ain't even like wishful thinking. This is the law. It must return an abundant harvest to you. Be encouraged in that and check out our quiz. Take the quiz if you want to start practicing this thing. If you want to start putting this thing into action, don't give up because you lost respect. Don't give up because you're feeling disrespected. Go right now and start sowing that honor tree and watch and test if the Most High will not be true to his law and to his promise to reward you above anything you could think, feel, or imagine. He absolutely will. And I am a living testimony and a living witness of doing the hard thing when no one was watching, doing the hard thing when it all looked crazy and like it wasn't going to work, doing the hard thing when it was definitely not being appreciated, only to come to a season of a weighty abundance. And I'm talking about y'all. I'm talking about that picture of when Yahusha told the fishermen who they were fishing all night and they didn't catch anything. Not a single fish all night long. And he came and he said, cast your net on the other side. And they said, amen. We was out here all night. We have not caught anything. But they decided to take hope and to follow his instruction. I am encouraging you and I am challenging you to be like those fishermen, because when they followed that instruction, when they cast their net on the other side, when they decided to take the king at his word, which is the law, they caught so many fish, y'all, that they net almost broke. It was so heavy. I want you to think heavy. I want you to think the heaviness of how much fruit coming back to you, how many fish you catching, how this is about to break your net because you dared to trust the king and his law. I hope this blesses and encourages you. I hope this makes sense. If you want to learn more about the FIRAC process, we also have the class where I taught this in person, how to think like a lawyer and fight like a lover, because sometimes you got to have a legal strategy in order to get over your feelings when your husband or your wife is coming for your nerves. And so I have that training also in the description box. Very low cost for that, but I am teaching you how my legal training combined with these insights and revelations from the law of the scriptures, literally saved my marriage from the doorstep of divorce and positioned me to help reconcile broken relationships. We've had so many people that came to me, I want a divorce. They came to me for the divorce because I know how to do the divorce. And when we began to walk through these principles and help people apply these principles and practice thinking like a lawyer and fighting like a lover, their marriages will reconcile, even with only one person doing the work. I'm telling you right now, the law will work for your relationship if you're hurting. If this blesses you in any kind of way, if you found value in this content, please like, share, and subscribe and support Law for Love and the work that we're doing out here, converting conflict into connection to help you transform your family, your community, and the world. Be blessed, y'all. Always remember this: the destination is love, and the journey is love. And it is love that conquers all fear and transforms our world. Hey, if you were blessed by this content, please like it, share it, and subscribe. Follow us on social media at Law for Love ATL. And we bless you and thank you for all of your support.